So, artificial intelligence. It kind of feels like it just appeared out of nowhere, right? Like, boom, it's everywhere. But the real story? It's this incredible 70-year-long saga. We're talking brilliant thinkers, epic failures, and a few key breakthroughs that flipped the script on everything. So let's get into it.
I mean, just think about it for a second. We literally went from AI being something in sci-fi movies to having tools like ChatGPT right in our pockets. But how did that happen? It wasn't just one big invention. It was this long, winding road, full of amazing ideas, yeah, but also some really frustrating setbacks. So the real question is, how did we get here? How did we go from just an abstract idea to the powerful AI we use every day?
Okay, so we're going to start at the very beginning. I like to think of this first part as building the rocket. Right? This isn't the flashy part, not the launch. This is the slow, painstaking work, the decades spent in the garage, drawing up blueprints, arguing over theories, and just putting all the pieces together, one by one, for this machine that would eventually change everything.
And what's so wild about AI's history is the rhythm of it. It wasn't this nice, steady climb to success. No way. It was a total roller coaster. It all kicked off with just pure theory back in the 50s. Then, for decades, it went through these crazy cycles of boom and bust, what people call AI summers and winters. Huge optimism, then crushing disappointment. That is, until we hit two massive turning points that completely changed the game: the deep learning revolution, and then the arrival of the transformer.
So, where does it all begin? Well, you have to go back to 1950, to the legendary Alan Turing. He asked this really simple but incredibly profound question. Can machines think? And he came up with this clever way to test it. Basically, if you're texting with something and you can't tell if it's a human or a machine on the other end, well, Turing said then that machine has achieved a level of intelligence. It wasn't just some tech benchmark, it was a huge philosophical idea. And honestly, it's a test that today's chatbots are still wrestling with.
All right, fast forward just 6 years to 1956. This is a huge moment. A group of researchers get together for something called the Dartmouth Workshop, and they finally give this whole dream a name: artificial intelligence. And you gotta understand, their optimism was just through the roof. I mean, these guys, pioneers like John McCarthy and Marvin Minsky, they seriously thought they could crack human-level intelligence in a single summer. A summer. That's how close they felt they were to solving it.
Well, as you can probably guess, that incredible optimism, it led to that roller coaster I was talking about. The field went through these periods people call AI summers. Everyone's excited, money is pouring in, and we get things like expert systems. You can think of these as super specialized AIs, like a program that's amazing at diagnosing one specific disease. But the problem was they were only good at that one thing. And when people realized their limits, boom, the funding would vanish, the excitement would die down, and a long, cold AI winter would set in. This up and down cycle of hype and disappointment went on for decades.
So what broke the cycle? What finally ended the winners? Well, it was the deep learning revolution. It was like this perfect storm. See, the basic idea of neural networks, algorithms inspired by the human brain, that idea had been around for ages. But two things were missing. We finally got them in the 2000s. One, insane amounts of computing power, and two, just mountains of data, what we call big data. When you put those three things together, suddenly it all just worked. Machines started doing things like recognizing images better than humans could. And just like that, AI wasn't a what-if anymore. It was really happening.
And that brings us to the last and maybe most important piece of our rocket. The year is 2017, and the team at Google releases this paper with an awesome title: Attention is All You Need. It introduced something called the transformer architecture. Now, its secret sauce was this thing called an attention mechanism. Here's a simple way to think about it. When you read this sentence, your brain just knows which words are important and how they all connect to create meaning. This attention thing gave AI that exact superpower for the first time. It could finally grasp context and nuance in language. This was the engine that was going to make the whole thing fly.
All right, so the rocket is built, the engine is lit. Welcome to Part 2, Liftoff. This is right now, this is the moment where all that hard, foundational work finally pays off and we get the amazing chatbots that we're all using today. But here's the thing, not all these AIs are the same. Not at all. They're basically built on two totally different philosophies. On one hand, you got the closed models, like the ones from OpenAI and Google. They're trying to build a safe, reliable, works for everyone kind of product. Then you have the open source crew.
The best way to think about them is that they're giving you the engine, and then you can build whatever car you want around it. It's all about access, customization, and letting the community build cool stuff.
So let's look at the big players right now. Of course, you've got ChatGPT, the one that started it all, the one that's just so good at conversation. Then there's Google's Gemini, and their whole game is integration. They want Gemini to be the invisible AI brain inside every single Google product you already use. Microsoft's Copilot, that's your work buddy. It lives inside Windows and Office, helping you with everything from emails to PowerPoint. And then, on the open source side, you have players like DeepSeek. They're all about giving developers the keys to the kingdom, total transparency, total control to build whatever they want. Each one is making a different bet on what the future of AI looks like.
So the rocket's in orbit. Now what? Where are we headed? That brings us to part 3, exploring new worlds. We're talking about the future of AI, and the biggest change coming is a shift from AI that just gives you answers to an AI that can actually take action for you.
And this isn't science fiction. This evolution is happening as we speak. Think about it. First, we got AI that could answer things, like a search engine on steroids. Then we got generative AI that could create new stuff, an image, a poem, a block of code. The next massive leap is AI that can act. So instead of asking it to find you flights, you'll just give it a goal. Hey, plan and book my entire trip to Japan, and it will figure out all the steps and just do it.
So what does that future actually look like in practice? Well, for one, AI is going to understand the world more like we do. Not just text, but seeing images, hearing audio, watching video, and processing it all together seamlessly. We're definitely going to see more of these autonomous agents that can manage complex tasks for us. And a big one is efficiency. We're talking about models that are so smart and small they can run right on your phone, not just on some massive server. And maybe the coolest part? Real personalization. An AI that actually remembers you, that learns from your conversations, and becomes a true partner that's customized just for you.
But of course, with all this power comes some huge responsibilities. As we push into this new territory, there are some really critical problems we have to solve. The first is alignment. That just means making sure the AI's goals are the same as our human goals. We need to be sure it's helping us, not just chasing some random objective. Then there's transparency. We can't have these black boxes making huge decisions. If an AI rejects your loan application, you deserve to know exactly why. And finally, regulation. We need smart rules of the road that protect people from bias and misuse without killing innovation. Honestly, figuring this stuff out isn't a side quest, it's the main mission. And that really brings us to the biggest question of all, doesn't it? When we look to the future, what are we actually building here? Is the end goal a super smart assistant that just waits for us to tell it what to do? Or are we building something more? A truly autonomous agent that goes out and acts in the world on our behalf? The tech is moving at a breakneck pace for sure. But the choice of where we point it, that's still up to us.